The New York Times, for online daters, women peak at 18, while men peak at 50, study finds. Oh, why? Oi? Oi? Is that supposed to be oi? Well, got an article for you here today. But how men get better with age and women don't. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's just how it works. Now, before we get started, I do want to thank everybody for stopping by and supporting my work. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube does unsubscribe people every single day. You can find me on Rumble, on Twitter, BitChute Odyssey. This is a picture of Pablo Picasso on the French Riviera in 1940. He began a relationship with Marie-Therese Walter in the 1920s when she was a teenager, Associated Press says. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it used to be, though. I mean, teenage girls used to get with adult men all the time. It was commonplace. In some cases, it was teenage boys getting with adult women because you just didn't have the vast number of people around to choose from. That's just how it was. It's like, well, look, I mean, he's 15 and she's 20. They're closest in age. We don't see any other girls coming along. We got to get them together, make babies. If you haven't watched Nanette, Hannah Gadsby's fearless comedy special on Netflix, do that now. We'll wait. Wait a second. Hannah Gadsby. That's what I thought. I have not seen any one of her full comedy stand-up specials, and I never probably will. What I have seen clips, and they're awful. She goes on these tirades about how evil men are, and her violation that she went through with a man, and other just horrifying things that you don't want to. They're not funny. They're not funny. It's like it's fine to talk about those things. It's terrible that they happen to you. They should not have, but those things happen. It's tragedy. I mean, there's nothing we can do to change the fact that those things are going to keep happening because there are psychos in the world.
I am not a man hater, but I am afraid of men. If I'm the only woman in a room full of men, I am afraid. And if you think that's unusual, you're not speaking to the women in your life. I don't hate men, but I wonder how a man would feel if they'd have lived my life. Because it was a man who sexually abused me when I was a child. It was a man who beat the shit out of me when I was 17, my prime. And it was two men who raped me when I was barely in my 20s. Tell me, why is that okay? Why was it okay to pick me off the pack like that and do that to me? It would have been more humane to just take me out to the back paddock and put a bullet in my head if it is that much of a crime to be different.
But that's not for a comedy special. You have your platform there that you want to speak about this stuff on. You just are going about it the wrong way. Anyway, in it, Miss Gadsby takes on the fragility of masculinity and at one point drills into Pablo Picasso, who well into his 40s had an affair with a teenage girl. Mrs. Gadsby, who has a degree in art history, that seems appropriate for a person who's a stand-up comedian, recounted how Picasso justified the relationship by claiming that he and the girl, Marie-Therese Walters, were both in their prime. Seething, Miss Gadsby said, a 17-year-old girl is never in her prime, ever. I am in my prime. She is 40. No, you're not. You're not in your prime at 40. When you're talking about human relations, interpersonal human relations, you're not in your prime at 40. You're talking about the business world. Yeah, you tend to get better and to a certain point with age, and then you tend to drop off, and then you retire, and then you're done. So, yeah, you're not in your prime as a woman at 40. That anecdote came to mind recently in response to a new study about online dating published in the journal Science Advances. In it, researchers studied the desirability of male and female users based on how many messages nearly 200,000 users, all of whom were seeking opposite-sex partners, got over 1 month on a popular free online dating service, and if those sending the messages were desirable based on the same criteria. The researchers determined that while men's sexual desirability peaks at age 50, women starts high at 18 and falls from there.
Other breaking news. Water. Wet.
What? I mean, who didn't know this? This is something that I came across when I was a young man trying to date. And I'm like, and I knew that as I got older, it would become easier. And these girls, I was like, they have all the power. This is when I realized women have all the damn power. I have to approach. I have to be funny. I have to be witty. I have to be good enough looking. I have to be tall enough. I have to have all of these different things that are going to signal to the girl that I'm a catch, or at least worth spending time with. And I did not have many of those things. I certainly didn't have money. I didn't have a lot of confidence. I'm not tall. I was good looking. I think that's the only reason why I got any action at all. It's because, I mean, I have women today, young women today, telling me that they find me attractive. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. In other words, not so far from the ages of Walter and Picasso, right? So she was 17, he was 50. The age gradient for women definitely surprised us, both in terms of the fact that it steadily declined from the time women were 18 to the time they were 65, and also how steep it was, said Elizabeth Brutch. I like this caption here on this. There's a picture of two people walking, a man and a woman holding hands, and the man is clearly older than the woman, although the woman doesn't really look as young as they're probably trying to make her out to be. I would say that he's like 60 and she's probably 40 or 35. But the caption says, a new study about online dating found that a man's desirability increases with age and education. Who didn't know this? When was this article written? Come on now. I just found it the other day. Does it have a date on it? It doesn't have a date on it. Oh, wait, here you go. Oh, 2018. Okay, so this is a few years old. This study isn't an anomaly. The study results echoed data shared by the dating behemoth OkCupid in 2010, in which the service found that men from the ages of 22 to 30 focus almost entirely on women who are younger than them. The median 30-year-old man spends as much time messaging teenage girls as he does women his own age, OkCupid wrote in a blog post at the time. Okay then, 30-year-old man contacting teenagers. This is not okay. It depends on how old the teenager is, obviously. 18 is the legal age. Hey, guess what? Up here, what do we got going on? Picasso was with a 17-year-old girl, this Marie-Therese Walters. She was 17, right? And as much as many people out there might be saying, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. In some states, that's legal age of consent. And in some states, 16 is the legal age of consent. According to my research, now don't take my word for it, do your own research. So I don't want you to get in trouble, but do your own research. Even if you aren't planning on getting with a teenage girl, you still want to know the truth. I did research on this years ago. Some states it's 15. The lowest age in one state, 12 years old. That's if you're getting into a relationship. You're allowed to get into an adult relationship at 12 with an adult. Strangely, that same state, the legal age for a hookup with an adult, 21. Now, my research may be way wrong. I believe that mostly comes from Wikipedia, and we know how reliable they are. I just did a video about that, right? So, you want to do your own research. You want to be a lawyer, basically. To get through this world anymore, you got to be a lawyer. But it's not like 17-year-olds aren't doing it, right? We know that it's been going on for generations. My father talked about hooking up with girls. He graduated high school in 1950. I'm his youngest child, by far. He was a ladies' man. He could go around and get ladies. I wish he would have shared the secret with me, because I certainly did not have that. Me being half soy boy today, full soy boy when I was younger, overly emotional, overly sensitive, all those things. I was a sensitive boy. And that turns women off. Judgmental. Don't be judgmental when you're talking to girls. Just, let everything that she says is fine. Just let's water off a duck's back, or it's cool. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. It's great. Keep doing that. Everything's got to be just, she's fine. She's right. She's doing the right thing. She's fine the way that she is. Nothing can be, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that way. No, I don't like that. Or you can't get into judgment. As soon as you get into judgment, it's over with. So back to the article. OkCupid also reported that as a man gets older, he searches for relatively younger and younger women, while his upper acceptable age limit hovers just above his own age. The male fixation on youth distorts the dating pool, OkCupid concluded. How does it distort the dating pool? The dating, sex, what it's about. Nature wants to reproduce itself. It wants to replicate itself in some way. Which women are going to be the most capable of doing that? Which men are going to be the most capable of ensuring that the offspring survive? If it weren't for intelligence, human men would not stay as attractive into old age as they do. Caveman mentality persists. Michelle Drouin, the developmental psychologist who focused on technology and relationships, was not surprised by the new study, in part because they align with evolutionary theories on mating, in which youth suggests fertility, she said. Dr. Drouin pointed out, though, that there are also theories that suggest that men are just less interested in earning potential or power and more interested in physical attractiveness. Both are true, and both can be true. Why wouldn't they be? We've seen this in if you go and you look at the world and the few areas where women are considered dominant, where women are allowed to have all of the power, those people don't advance. They live in tribes. They live using ancient technologies and ancient customs, because there's no reason for a man to go out and try to get a woman. The woman selects. The man can't do anything, so he doesn't have to improve, impress, do any of that stuff. If there was some woman who was a boss babe and she came up to me and she was like, yeah, you and me, we're going to do this. And I was still a soy boy. I would definitely be like, yes, all right, awesome. But now I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't really turn me on. Sorry. And as far as having your earning potential, sure, that's an attractive quality for my own basic survival moving forward in the world. I would like to be able to have access to lots of money to not worry about where my next meal is coming from, not worry about shelter, and not worry about vehicle and transportation. And then on top of which I can use that money to pursue my goals. Those are all great things. But if you don't bring that to the table as a woman, I'm not going like, you're out. And if you do bring that to the table as a woman, if you're not what I want, like you could be Oprah Winfrey, lots of money. I do not want to have any kind of relationship with Oprah Winfrey. None. So money doesn't improve your looks as a woman. And that's really what's important to men. You have to be pleasant to be around. You have to be good looking, and you have to want to give it up on a regular basis every week. Usually every day. If you don't have those three qualities, men are going to want to move on from you. Men are not going to want to be with you long term or even short term. The shortest term might be like a day, a week, something like that. I'm like, oh, well, you only wanted it once this week? Why don't we get together every day? No, I'm good. I only need it that one time. Well, I don't want to be with you then. I'm going to need it more than that. So some men have lower drive than other men, but that's just the reality we live in. Women want brains, men care less. Speaking of earning potential, Dr. Bruch also found that a man's desirability increased the more education he attained. For women, that benefit ended with the undergraduate degree. And postgraduate education, in fact, made them less desirable. So the more education a woman gets, the less interesting she is to a man. I'm wondering why that is. I'm not an evolutionary psychologist. I'm not a biologist. I'm an artist. So I got to know a lot of different things about a lot of different stuff because I have to recreate that stuff all the time. Let's see. I'm guessing that the more education she has, the less dependent she would be on the man. Therefore, the less interested the man would be in her. And also the less time that she would be given to pursuing a male companion. I would think that if you're so busy pursuing these higher degrees, this higher education, these just conquests over the world, the less interesting you are to a man because he's like, you don't have time for me. You're out doing these things instead of focusing on getting me to want to be with you. Makes sense to me. Maybe somebody knows and can tell me down in the comments. Women now outnumber men in college and earn more degrees, Dr. Bruch said, adding, preferences coupled with the availability of partners may drive the partners we see in our paper. Dr. Druin said the educational dynamic might also be related to beliefs that higher degrees among women translate into more work commitment and less relationship and family commitment. There you go. I just said that. That was one thing. And so I don't know if that would be from an evolutionary point of view, that would have been something that we developed, but probably it might just be a practical thing that we've developed in our modern society. People aim high, probably too high. Dr. Druin stressed that the preferences of people seeking mates online reflect aspiration, not necessarily what people want in real life. A key finding of the study was that most users sent messages to people who were more desirable than themselves. 25% more desirable to be exact. On average, I would assume that is. Well, yeah, people are going to shoot for the stars. That's a good philosophy to have. Shoot for the stars, right? If you hit the moon, you made it. Right? I mean, it's true, right? If you want to be a director of Hollywood movies and you're just like, I want to direct the best and the biggest and the most expensive and elaborate movies, and you end up directing like films that make it into theaters, but they're the lower end as far as directing is concerned, maybe dramas or comedies that they don't need a lot of special effects, don't need a lot of interesting camera angles. Maybe you're happy with that and you've done what you needed to do and you already are like doing a really good job. If you're that far into the process of becoming a director, you are a director, that's pretty good. This data represents the reality of dating preferences. In other words, dating out of your league. Dr. Druin said that is often not the reality of dating. These messages sent by online daters can be linked to slot machine play in Vegas. She said, little investment on the front end might pay out big on the back end. So why not opt for a chance at the biggest win? Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're online dating, you just be like, hey, you can send a message to somebody and they might be like, oh yeah, cool, let's go, you and me. But the odds of that happening for a man are pretty slim. For the women, it's a much better odds. Men on dating apps outnumber women. It's true. Remember what happened with Ashley Madison was like 10 years ago? When Ashley Madison got called out, they had like 90,000 women on the site and like 6 million men or something. So yeah, there aren't very many men getting lucky on Ashley Madison. But then again, the internet can't read chemistry. In the real world, the woman with a graduate degree who knows your favorite Kerouac passage, speaks a few languages, or discovers new ways to cure disease might be undeniably attractive.
Man, do you know what guys want?
Think of Amal Clooney. I don't know who Amal Clooney is. Yeah, so men don't care how many languages you speak. Men don't care if you can quote Kerouac or whoever their favorite author is or whatever. I mean, if you could quote my favorite shows, when I was younger, I used to watch Simpsons all the time, and I used to quote them. Not so much anymore because, Disney took over and ruined everything. If a girl could quote Star Wars, yeah, I find that endearing, and that does help me appreciate her more, but I'm more interested in, do we get along well? That's part of the do we get along well. Do we have bedroom time on a regular basis? I mean, like daily. And are you pleasant to look at? Those are the 3 things I'm looking for. Does being able to quote The Simpsons mean that I can't get along with you? Or mean that I can get along with you? It could help, but it's not going to be the be-all, end-all for me. Like, if you can't quote The Simpsons, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're out. That's it. Get out. No, I'm like, all right, well, you don't watch The Simpsons. That's fine. You can go do your own thing. I'll do my thing sometimes. We don't have to do everything together. We don't have to be attached at the hip. We're adults now. We can have our own lives and then come together when we want to be together and then move on from there. Anyway, I just saw this and I thought that it would be an interesting read for my channel. I'm surprised that this was even coming out in 2018. That's pretty late to have figured this out. But I mean, these people they're writing an article. They got to put out so many articles a week or whatever. And is it wrong for Picasso to have been with a 17-year-old girl? I don't know. What the legal age is in France? Probably lower than 18. So hey, if they're together, everything is legal, everybody's happy with the situation, then what do I care? I have way more important things to worry about in my life than who your partner is. As long as everybody's happy, everything's legal. Just go about your business. So I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.